administration, Trump and Bondi and et cetera, are they doing the right thing? I know they're arresting and doing other things, but in regard to the Epstein files and that global system, do you feel happy that they're tearing through it, or you think they're covering it up, or any of that? Because I feel like they might be covering it up.
I definitely don't feel like it's being covered up. There's more involved in this than people realize. There's the whole blackmail network. We need to know who's holding the blackmail for what purposes. Who are the perpetrators at the top of this? Who are these self-appointed, self-anointed global leaders that are dehumanizing humanity in order to align us with flat thinking AI and with their flat thinking criminal agenda? You know, it's gotta stop. And in order to unravel all that, you know, this is just one thread they need to pull. The blackmail tapes themselves are one form of evidence. We got to have a justice system to prosecute these pedophiles and perpetrators through. We don't have a justice system in place yet. They've been running it for too long to cover up their crimes against humanity. Yeah. They invoke national security or anything else and just keep going. Yeah. So it's going to take a while. And right now, what we need to know is what exactly is this agenda all about? What are they doing with the children? How can this many children be missing? What are they doing harvesting our children? What is the adrenochrome all about? We need to get to the very bottom of this and take down the puppet masters at the top. So rather than using, you know, now that this administration has got the hold of the blackmail tapes, if they play another man's game and use blackmail to the blackmailers, it's not going to accomplish as much as they can if they just use their information gained as leverage against this whole global network that's been gaining control for generations now. It's going to take a while to unravel.
Okay. Well, Cathy, as a child, you were part of the building of that international network, weren't you? You were used as a child sex slave in order to build that international network of pedophiles that sit at top of every government and every NGO and everything, right?
Absolutely. And my uncle was a part of the blackmail network in distributing the tapes, and he was flying a lot of them to the Vatican. The Vatican has a huge vault of these blackmail tapes. That's a big piece of a puzzle right there. And that's only one piece of this puzzle. When we get to the top of, you know, who's doing this and why, we start to understand. And having been exposed to that, I was used in the blackmail videos myself at the Epstein Island of its time, Mackinac Island, Michigan. Mm-hmm. So I was among these global perpetrators, and I know how far-reaching this is, how deep it goes, and how long they've been doing it and getting away with it.
You were sold by your father into the MK Ultra child altering, terrorizing, torture machine of the CIA, U.S. government, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. There's so many children that have been in a position like I was, but there's not that many who've survived. I mean, look at all the people who've even tried to expose this mess, how many have been dying. And, you know, we've got to get some justice restored to the system, and people need to start seeing some accountability for actions, because right now there's
Don't you think people need to first demand accountability, which the American people, that seems to escape them, that they have the right to demand of this government accountability for what's happened to the children of this country and every country where these long hands of crime have toppled governments to get at their kids, every evil thing that they have been involved in. Don't you think, because our tax dollars pay for it all, that we have the right and the responsibility to demand the accountability of our government?
Well, I think the people are doing it. You know, the people have been demanding it for a long time. It's just the media is not giving us voice. They're not saying that we're being heard. You know, so many of us were awake and aware 2016 that we overrode the rigged electronic algorithm in the voting machine to put in a president who wasn't Hillary Clinton and her New World Order, to put in a president who exposed their funding mechanism of drug and human trafficking, showed us there was a swamp in Washington, D.C. And that woke even more people up. Then in 2020, these perpetrators were so desperate to regain control, they unleashed mind control masked as a virus on the global population. Everybody got a taste of mind control. Then that raised awareness that much more because these fools, they're so stupid. They messed up and they told everybody to shelter at home. Mind control needs to shut down neuron pathways in the brain. Trauma causes them to shut down. Fear causes them to shut down. That's what they need to use. But where they made their mistake is having a shelter at home. Because when people broke their routine patterns, it forced their brains to fire in new ways.
Right.
And it got those neuron pathways opening. So they made a big mistake, and people were sheltering at home and saying, hey, what are our kids being taught in the school system? What is this sexualization of children going on? They started talking to each other, and it really just woke more people up. So, we've got this massive movement now. The Great Awakening is real. But like my daughter Kelly was saying the other day, wow, this Great Awakening is past critical mass, but now people have a long way to go to catch up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information they've got to learn. There's a lot they need to open their eyes to in order to be effective in dismantling this mess and preventing it from ever happening again. So it's quite a journey.
Your book, Transformation of America, which is your testimony before Congress, you were detailing the child trafficking at the border like decades ago. That was part of your story too, isn't it?
Yeah. And my 1995 testimony for Congress, every bit of it was validated. That's why national security was invoked on it. Clean members of law enforcement and intelligence had it validated. Secret Service. There's a lot of good people in key positions who've been doing their best to dismantle this mess, fully realizing that until people open their eyes and realize how vast manipulation has become, to realize mind control sliding scale from the kind of torturous, robotic MK Ultra mind control I experienced on a White House Pentagon level, to the kind of mind control MK Ultra going on in Hollywood that you're aware of, to information control, because we all formulate our thoughts, opinions, and actions based on what we know. We need to know that knowledge base has been altered for a long, long time, very deliberately, to dumb us down and to keep us from knowing how to take action ourselves. We've been conditioned so long to look to big government, big pharma, big tech, big cult religion to tell us how to live our lives. But we forgot. We got all the power. We forgot to look within and align with that divine within and tap in to that power, because that's our victory. That's where we win. That's where they lose. That's what they're afraid we're going to do. So they instead keep us bombarded with trauma after trauma, suppress truth and information. Even though the information on child sex trafficking has come out, even though people have seen what's happening on our borders, how they're being turned into a corrupted so-called child protective services system, and then trafficked right from there, turned back out, because the same people own the whole corrupt system. So people are
including the media. Including the media. The media is what keeps us blind to it, right?
Yes, they do. And then again, the area where I'm working in, speaking out nationally now, all across the nation, empowering people to be effective in helping the children, because the people started taking action themselves. When Trump was reelected this time, the obstacles that have been put in everyone's way from being able to take action themselves have been removed.
The bureaucracy that kept it all in place, because that's how people were getting paid on their government jobs, is to keep the devilish, the satanic empire empire in place. That's what they were working for, not the U.S. government or the people.
Absolutely. And now the people are so fed up with that and they're just taking action themselves. But as they're taking action, they're realizing they don't know how to help these children. They can give them a safe place to be, but what do they do from there? And that's the information that I'm sharing because
Can you tell us about that information and what you are sharing? And I know you're part of a whole growing network across this country of basically moms and some dads and grandparents, but American citizens that are offering redemption to these children who've been so damaged.
Yeah, the information I used for healing was suppressed under national security. It's our birthright information, but it was suppressed ever since the 1947 National Security Act went into place in the wake of the World War II when we imported the Nazi and fascist scientists into the U.S. with Project Paperclip. With them came the formula for mind control. Well, our information on mind brain function, that's our natural defense against mind control, our ability to heal from any trauma, was suppressed and buried under national security. It was withheld from the mental health community, the medical community, from the education system. Pertinent information the medical system doesn't have, like our subconscious never sleeps. If the medical community knew that, in the course of surgery, they could say healing, affirming thoughts instead of, whoa, look at this mess, drama that only adds to the difficulty in recovering from surgery. There's some very simple mind brain functions that have been suppressed for a long time. When Mark saw it buried under national security,
no, I want to say your husband. I wanted to say your husband, Mark Phillips, who was a white hat before they even had that word.
Yeah.
And he was in doing business in China way back when that was new. And isn't it the Chinese that told him about how so many business folk from America coming there were actually compromised by pedophilia?
Yes, and there were those in China that were doing all they could at the time to restore free thought to the people. This was a global agenda, and there was a global movement, and they had alerted Mark to the fact that my daughter Kelly and I were slaves. They had information on our circumstance, and Mark decided to do something about it, and lifted Kelly and I right out of the Washington, D.C. human trafficking swamp and handed us keys to our own mind, that birthright information that was buried under national security.
He liberated that buried on purpose information for how to heal, right? He liberated that from the dark hats.
He did. He wasn't able to reveal it himself because he was bound by laws of sedition, but it was my experience to heal with it. So I could release the information. I'm not bound by any laws of sedition. Besides, it's humanity's birthright information about the resiliency of our body, mind, and spirit. So yeah, I not only have I released it in PTSD Time to Heal, as you so well know, because you wrote on the back of it, attesting to it since you had met Mark and knew about these methods yourself. This is just easy for anyone to self-apply. So this is what I'm teaching others right now, how to be effective in helping the children, is for them to first remember their own birthright information and then empower the children with it. It's all such a natural process because ultimately we were made perfect. Our brains are perfect.
Yes,
our brains have so much healing capacity. Our bodies are perfect. We don't need 79 vaccines to survive.
What I just read the other day, I read something where they're finding out that dandelions have a property that kills cancer.
there's so many simple ways when we go back to nature.
Oh, you see.